President of Meetings and Events for WSWA, Carrie Langerman.
Good afternoon. Today we have some of the brightest next generation leaders of the wholesaler tier with us to discuss the state of today's industry, the value of distribution partnerships, and their plans for the future of our marketplace. Please welcome to the stage President of Opici Family Distributing, Dina Opici, Senior Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Breakthru Beverage Group, Hillary Wirtz, Senior Vice President of Wine for R&DC, Ken Rosenberg, Chief Operating Officer of Best Brands, Ryan Moses, and our moderator for today, Key Account Manager for R&DC, Grant Sechler. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Grant Sechler, and I'm a fourth-generation family member at R&DC. Today, we're going to be discussing the marketplace today and where our future is as wholesalers. I'm very excited to have an esteemed panelist group up here with me today, and we're going to dive into some really great questions. With that being said, I'd love to introduce this awesome panel, and we'll start with Dina.
Thanks, Grant. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. Hi, I'm Dina Opici. I am the fourth generation in my family's business as well and feel really lucky to be in that position. I'm the president of Opici Family Distributing. We're in the distribution business in New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, Delaware, DC, and we are fortunate to be in a partnership with R&DC in New York.
Hillary?
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Hillary Wirtz, and I am part of our fourth generation ownership of Breakthru Beverage. I am based in Chicago. I won't name all the Breakthru markets, but I'm honored and privileged to be a part of the next generation team, including the Wirtz family and the Marinoff family.
Ken?
Hi, everyone. Ken Rosenberg. I'm Senior VP of Wine. I'm third generation of ownership of the R&DC group. I work corporately on our wine with our corporate wine teams. I've been in the industry for a little bit over 28 years, and pleasure to be here today.
We'll finish up with Ryan.
How are you doing? Ryan Moses. I'm with Best Brands. I'm the Chief Operating Officer there. We operate exclusively in Tennessee. We're a single state operator, and I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Well, now that we've met everybody, I just want everyone to know that this is going to be an interactive panel discussion, so if you, our audience, have any questions or want to speak at any time, please feel free to raise your hand or shout the question out, and we'll get to answer every question that we can. But with that being said, let's get this thing going. So Dina, we'll start with you. Yesterday, we heard from a panel of pioneering leaders in our industry. What have you learned from them, and how have you incorporated that into your business, as well as modified the lessons that you think will happen in the future?
So I think probably one of the biggest takeaways from that panel was professionalism. We talked about it earlier today. I think everybody on the stage mentioned family in their introduction, and I think that's really inherent in this business. Ultimately, it's about relationships, and what you see is despite whether you compete or you're in the same state or you're not, we really all work together nicely, especially with regards to the interests of WSWA. So it's definitely something that I was exposed to when I would come to these conventions for fun with my grandparents once upon a time. And now that I'm here still having fun, I think it's a consistent theme that you see in our industry.
Hillary, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think just to build on Dina's point around, this is a relationship business. I think that is how we were all founded, and it continues to ring true, even though we're all growing and changing and evolving and becoming more and more complex. But at the end of the day, we're all families, and we all really believe in the value of the relationships within this industry. I know I have great relationships with my fellow panelists that I've known for a long time, and I saw that in the panel yesterday with the other owners up there that have known each other and telling stories from 30-some years ago. And I was just thinking about what that would be like for us, in another, if God willing we make it this far, what that will be like for us in the future. But I know, growing up watching my dad grow up in the business, and I saw him live and breathe the relationships, and always living and working, really upholding not only our family values, but then our company values, that we're all one and the same, and always being honest and operating with the most integrity, and really valuing your word is your bond, and doing what you say and say what you're going to do. And I think for me, I just, as I carry the business forward and look to the future, I try to uphold and carry those principles and those values forward.
I think that's an important thing to kind of say, your word is your bond, just in this industry. It's, as big as it is, as evolving as it changes, I think you're still going to see the same people. They might be with a different company, they might be with a different place, but it's important to understand where everything makes its way around to everyone else. And so if you're not abiding by what's best for your business and best for your suppliers, it comes back to you. So multi-generational companies, I think it's something that we understand, especially the older generations. The brands that built aren't necessarily the big brands now, but the next brands are coming from those people and from innovators, and it also matters to, you don't know what is what in the end of the day. Tito Beverage came and spoke, and he was making vodka out of his car and selling it, maxing out credit cards, and look at him today. So you never know what those brands are, so you just have to treat every brand accordingly.
So we'll change this. Ken, I'm going to direct this one to you here. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in today's marketplace, whether it's new trends or way of operating. For example, new business models are popping up. What are you doing to maintain that business that you have now and preparing for what the future of our business and industry leads?
There's a lot of things that are changing in this industry, and the days of somebody coming in and saying, this is my budget, this is what I have to promote their brands. Well, social media is really key these days. You really have to try and promote your brands on social media. We have a different consumer these days, and they have different needs and want different things in life. So, social media is so important to you. Honesty, I also go back to some of the other things that you said, is being persistent, and integrity and honesty.
Yeah. Anybody have anything to add on to that or want to chime in on that?
I would just say, even if you dive into social media and kind of go about that way, I think the culture of where a retailer and an on-premise account is creating these brands, and that's now how consumers are having their first interaction with it. That's happening some, but I think it's a lot different. One, there is DTC, but I say even beyond that, with be it Instagram or TikTok or that sort of thing, influencers and even friends that they're seeing, it's coming back the other direction, where I think the consumer is finding out about or learning about a product that they haven't tried, and then now they're going to the retailer, or now they're going to the on-premise account seeking to find that. So I think there's a new way to acquire customers, a little different than what it's been in the past.
Agree, and it's amazing. You go into these stores and the consumers there shopping on their phone, and they're looking at the product and looking for it on the shelf and reading about the product. That wasn't happening in the past.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing to make sure wholesalers remain relevant in this industry, and how are you all working together with other wholesalers and trying to keep a certain balance throughout the industry and where we're going forward? And Dina, Hillary, if you guys want to take that one.
Yeah, okay. I can start. I think it's important that we remain very intentional and strategic about the type of culture and company that we are looking to further grow and develop for the future generations. We pride ourselves in trying to be a people-first culture, always looking. Our associates are the most valuable asset in our organization, whatever their role or function might be, whether they're in sales or operations or on the management team. And so it's important that we are always looking to drive that for the future, to stay relevant, to stay progressive, to stay inclusive in creating that culture of belonging for our associates to be able to reach whatever their goals might be. Yeah. So that is something that we take very seriously and put a lot of effort towards, because again, we talked about this really all week, that we all want to remain multi-generational family businesses. And so how do we just continue to move that culture forward as our world continues to grow and change and look differently Where we are today is going to look very different in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So we have to always be mindful of that.
I mean, just think of our associates alone, how they have changed and some of the requests that they want. Time off. I mean, that's some of the questions during the interview process that they ask. We've gone through a policy of unlimited vacation, but you really have to do your job, do it right, don't abuse that.
Right.
But, you know, it's way different than what it used to be.
I think service is extremely important, and I think differentiating yourself amongst your competitors in the marketplace, and how you do that. I think that we need to make sure that we continue to prioritize that, because we are not selling widgets. Every product we sell has a story, and we need to be able to tell that story. And so as we continue to evolve through technology and give our customers an opportunity to do business with us anytime, anywhere, wearing whatever they want, that's great, but we still need to keep those relationships. And I think that's a huge priority from our standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, they spoke about it this morning about the proliferation of UPCs, I think what they referred to in the categories. So I think there's more noise and more options than ever. So I think having people that aren't just salespeople dropping off a bottle and you have to teach the product, you have to teach the story, it's kind of, you need the specialist again. So I think that's really what's differentiating what makes successful brands and also what makes a successful distributor is doing more than just selling the product or fulfilling the order.
Yeah.
And we have to help to deliver the message to the consumer, and we want to deliver the same message to the consumers on particular brands. That's why e-commerce is so important. We wanted to tell a story and a message to our customers and then down towards the consumers.
Yeah, that's great. So this is an interesting one. We've heard about some industry disruptors over the past few days, including technology, non-alcoholic hemp beverages into the market, beer distributors getting into the wine and spirit space. What are some disruptors that you all are focused on, and how are you embracing the challenge to overcome the challenges? Ryan, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I think a short answer would be yes to all of those. I think all of those things are happening. I think it's hard to kind of say, oh, this, but I mean, I think if you go through it, yes, beer is seeing a constant decline, and they're also, especially, I mean, obviously with what happened with Budweiser, the AB houses are looking for new alternative ways to get revenue. So with that, they're trying to create wine and spirits companies or new entities within that and kind of go in that space. So I think that's an obvious one that is coming into our space and has distribution experience. I think it's a different distribution experience, so I don't know if it translates quite the same, but that's an obvious one that's out there. I think generationally, when you look at the data, I mean, less drinking, no drinking, California sober, kind of all those sort of things are all out there. I think people are messing with functional beverages, be it mushroom beverage stuff and on top of hemp beverages. So I think all of these things are happening. So it's just being aware of the evolving market and then also making sure that as the market evolves that we as a wholesale organization, as WSWA, help create regulatory environment that works for them. And when I say regulatory environment, it's not, hey, we want to control this. It's we want to control the consumer interaction. So if hemp is where things are going, or if cannabis is where things are going, it needs to be happening in a compliant way that, one, is balanced with alcohol, but then on beyond that, it needs to be in a way that where the consumer is in a safe experience. So I think of everyone's first experience with tequila, and they had some really bad whatever mixto tequila,
tequila.
And they hate tequila. Everyone hated tequila, and then the idea of high quality tequila came out, and that became a new iteration, new learning. So I think with hemp and that sort of piece, there's good actors who have the testing and have the places and things they're doing appropriately, and then you have bad actors who are making it in their house, and maybe it has whatever dosage it has, and maybe it has triple that dosage. Who knows? So I think just helping both on the state level and also being a repository as a wholesaler to help create the environment for the retailers to understand what those products are. I think that's how we help that situation as well. I know there's a lot of questions kind of built into that, so I'll stop there and let someone else kind of jump in as well.
I mean, there is even the three-tier system that needs to stay in place and direct the consumer. You know, it can't come from the retailer the way that some of these things are going. So when they're ordering it online, it has to come through us to the retailer, then to the consumer.
One, for a state basis, tax collection is a very important portion of it. And I mean, for us, we're the best tax collectors in the country. We have 100% collection rate. I mean, that's part of our process. I think If you look at cigarettes, or if you look at some of these other markets and what they do, they're trying to track. When you do direct to consumer, you have cross-state stuff. It's very hard to track kind of who's paying what and that sort of piece. So I think the regulation also helps from a state perspective as well to, one, prevent fraudulent stuff and copyright and whatever you want to say.
Underage drinking.
Underage, and that sort of piece. And I think we help with the tax side of things also.
Ladies, y'all want to add anything to that?
I do. I'm going to pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I think about detractors, I actually think about, or disruptors, excuse me, I actually think about external talent. And I say that because, all of our companies, right, family ownership, how we have grown up in the business, we talk about promoting within and really investing in our people and developing our people and helping them achieve their career goals, and all of those things are extremely important, and we highly value the development of all of our associates. At the same time, I think we have become a little bit insulary, where we're only looking within for leadership and growth opportunities. And we have taken a more broader perspective and really looking at, there's incredibly talented people out in the world working at other Fortune 500 companies or attending incredible colleges and universities, and why are they going to work for United Airlines or Deloitte? Why not a career in the beverage alcohol industry? And we recently have brought in some incredible external talent. Our CEO, our new CHRO, we have some new executive leaders that historically we would only think to elevate someone already internally, but I think just bringing in that diversity from outside the industry has been a positive disruptor for us, because they're challenging the status quo. They're asking the questions, why have you been doing this way for the last 50 years? And these are all really great provocative questions that is helping us to grow and change and think differently, and it's driving innovation. And I'm actually seeing it firsthand. I think it has actually helped us to accelerate some of the growth. We talk also about how change is long and hard and slow and painful, but it's actually has helped us to accelerate some of that growth that we have been seeking, and it's been really a positive and welcomed disruption.
Yeah.
And I think the consumers drive that market, and the consumers are the ones, I think us having the consumers push and say, this is what we look for as a wholesaler, we have to help enable that. So if we're stuck in our ways and detracting, it's going to hurt the situation just the same.
Yep.
I think the greatest example of disruption is in this room,
Yeah.
right? Every year you come to these events and you see different and new things, and to me that's one of the best things about this industry. I think we all have to be prepared for constant disruption, whether internal or external, and there's so many things in business today that we don't have control over, so we really need to focus on that which we can, and I think that as you look ahead, we have to be challenging everything, because I agree with you. We do a lot of things because it's the way we've always done them and it's inherent in our business. But if you look pre-COVID, the majority of our retailers in the independent Northeast were not online, did not have websites. They didn't cater to that type of consumer, and now they all are. And so I think from that standpoint, constantly questioning the process and how we're going about business is what's going to make us all successful.
Those are great answers. And to kind of go off of y'all's point, we'll go with this next question. So workforce expectations are changing right now. How, as leaders of the next generation, are you all addressing these changes head on with your employees? And how are you maintaining and building that corporate culture that's always been there, especially through all of our families and how we've come and grown through these? Dina, you want to start, or Hillary? Yeah.
I'll start this time.
Yeah.
So I think that, I do a slide at the beginning of every year, and it's two puzzle pieces, and one says culture and one says business. And the point is that if those two puzzle pieces don't come together, it's probably unlikely that we're going to win. So we're very focused on, obviously, culture and transparency, and our team understanding where we're going and what we're looking to achieve. And then on the business side of that puzzle, making sure that we're clear on what our objectives are for the year, everybody understands them, and that we track against them, and again, share them with the employee group, because again, everybody wants to be part of something and building, and I think the only way you can do that is through communication and transparency.
Love that, yeah.
That was great. I actually really like your
Thank
idea
you.
of the slide. Well said.
I'll send it to you.
Please do, right? Because I think that is something that we're always thinking about and evolving and growing, and it is as we continue to grow and develop our culture and who we are and who we want to be. I think you brought up a really great point about communication and being consistent into what is the Breakthru experience. What is the experience of being part of the beverage alcohol industry, and how do we actually articulate that? What are the career opportunities at an entry point? How are we growing and developing our talent for the future, and how are we sharing that information and creating a culture where our associates feel and see that they can be leaders, they can be successful at whatever level they want to be at. They are a part of something bigger than themselves in this incredible industry. You know, a lot of folks don't even really know that there is, you know, any other competitor outside of their own market. So always just kind of creating that exposure and that experience, and at the same time being very clear about what the expectations are to really drive performance. At the end of the day, we could have a wonderful culture where everybody feels like they're part of the Breakthru family or the Opici family, but to be very clear in driving clear business results.
I love that.
You know, you brought up some great points, Dan. Really what we do is also, you have to really listen to your employees. And we do town hall meetings regularly throughout the year, and we also allow them to submit things anonymously online, but really listening to that employee on what their needs are and concerns are, and working with them to help them improve themselves and grow in the industry so they can move up.
And listening is not easy.
No.
I practice all the time.
Yep.
Well, and on the opposite side of that, I think it's still knowing what you are and knowing what you aren't. So I think there is a balance on that. I think there is a generational thing, and there is a new job class that allows you to work from home most of the time. That allows you to do all these things, and that just isn't what we are or what we can be in the foreseeable future. So there's a balance of you can't be all things to everybody, and there isn't, I want to work from home for 3 days. I want to do these. It's like, well, in this sort of portion of our business, that doesn't work. So I think it's also understanding that and we've really leaned into culture as well. We actually use third-party groups to actually measure our culture with Culture Index and do some things. So we actually really, part of it is try to tie up what a person does and what they innately are, and then you figure that out in the first 10 years of your life, and then how do you match up with what you're doing in your job? And not saying, hey, you can't be successful in this job, but can we move people around to make you more successful based on where you're having to stretch yourself versus what you do naturally? And then when we hire new people, making sure we're hiring people that are within a realm of that sort of space, so that way we're hopefully getting people that's fit as well.
You know, there's nothing easy about our industry. There's a lot of manual labor in our industry, and some of the folks coming into our business, they have a hard time with it, working at grocery and retail and lifting the cases and building the displays. But, you know, you got to work together in this industry.
Yeah, that's a good point about kind of the entry point, I think,
Yeah.
too. You know, we tell stories all the time about, you know, to be in this business, you have to come in right through the traditional sales channels, drag the heavy sales bag, and then you kind of work your way through the sales ranks, if you will. But I think as our businesses become much more complex and data-driven, there's so many more opportunities to come into our business, in addition to the traditional sales channels, but also kind of just creating more of those pathways that will also attract and breed the diversity that we're looking for from an experience standpoint.
Those are great answers, yeah. So we'll pivot with that, and I've been very fortunate to walk around, meet a lot of new people this week, especially in this hall. We have a lot of people exhibiting new products and trying to get their brands into the market. With that being said, what advice do you guys have for young brands that are trying to get into the market, and how can they build better relationships with their distributors? Ryan, we'll start with you on that one.
I kind of lean into two things. It's kind of knowing who you are and knowing what you are as a brand. So I think, yes, you want flexibility, but also you need to find that position. So everyone has, especially on a new product, you're like, well, the easiest way to continue my growth is have a new flavor, to go into this many more states and that sort of thing. But if you can't really do your best job in your single state or your single region, and you don't have the manpower, you don't have the ability to really focus the next place, then you need to just dig in deeper in that single place. I think everyone really wants to grow before they have the what made them successful, be able to grow in those other markets. So I think finding that balance right there, and then also listening to wholesaler feedback. I hate to say that we're the all-knowing people, but I think wholesalers in the states they operate, every state is different, and what works in some states, maybe it's a retail-driven state, and that's how you get into on-premise, or maybe it's an on-premise state and it goes retail. It's just utilizing your resource, because you have a wholesaler who does this day in, day out, and sees which brands work, sees which brands fail. So I think you have free advice there. So use that and listen to it and edit accordingly is what I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that piece of our business has very much changed. The days of them coming in and saying, here's my allowance, here's my tasting budget, here's the incentives I want to run, and let's get going in 10 states. Well, they have nobody on the street. You can't get going in 10 states. Let's start off small. Let's start off with a couple of states, see if the product works with the consumer. I mean, we can get it to the shelf, but the consumer's got to pick it up. It's got to have the right message. Back to social media.
Alignment on success.
Yes.
As well. So I mean, like as you said there, it's like, so for whatever this product is, I might think 100 pods is winning. And I might think selling 3 cases a month in these store in 40% of the stores and getting whatever that reorder rate is winning. And the person who I'm working with on the other side, on the supplier side, might think something entirely different. So I think making sure before you're going that you have alignment of what the success is. If it's a small amount of stores and you're penetrating deeper, or if it's a wider net and you just want pods, just making sure both sides know what winning is and how you'll be successful in the future.
I think the hardest part from a brand building standpoint is that there's so many brands today that are great concepts with great quality, and it's how do they get in front of not only the wholesaler but the retailer, the restaurateur. What we've found oftentimes is a lot of times somebody comes to us and our position is you're not ready. You're not even ready to have a wholesaler yet because you don't have the tools to support what we need. And so we encourage them to go out into the marketplace through another method, and maybe that's something like a lib-dib model where they go out and they're able to get into the marketplace and they're able to experience the needs of our customers and come back to us, almost kind of having already done a trial. It's like a dress rehearsal. And what success did you find and where didn't you? And oftentimes when they come back, it's very reflective. Like, my pricing was not right. My packaging needed to be tweaked. I didn't approach it the right way. Right, and we have found that to be super valuable because they should be just as invested in it as we are as we go forward. So.
I love that.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, I think just being like collaborative and nimble, right? It's a two-way partnership, and from our end being the consultant, taking the consultative and data-driven approach and really knowing the marketplace and knowing what the right brands are at the right time, hopefully for the consumer and for the customer, and then also to the listening point, listening to the needs of the brand and the experience that they bring in creating the brand, the story, the authenticity, how it came to be, and being able to sort of incorporate all of that to really drive results, but knowing that it's never just whatever, maybe however you start might not be how you finish. So there has to be some feedback, some tweaking, and also on our end as well. We're always kind of learning and growing and trying to better understand the needs of the marketplace and being adaptable and able to change.
Yeah, those are great. And Ryan made a good point earlier. We do see a lot of brands. I've seen a lot of brands, and I'm from Texas. We have a lot of people that come in every day. Let's blow this market up in Austin, and I want to be in Houston tomorrow. I want to be in Dallas the next day, San Antonio the week after, and you have to build that brand and that culture and try to get it from the ground. If you take off and run for the races, your brand might fall real fast, and it's establishing those individual markets, making sure you have that strong base, put the investment and time into that. Don't get one account, get 50 accounts in Austin, then start moving to Dallas, then start moving to Houston after you've built those markets. I think that's a thing that a lot of people, want to get to the top so fast and want to be that next Tito's or any other big brand like that, and it's really just putting that time and investment into everything, but great answers from everybody on that. So what are your thoughts on the future, leading your companies? You all are all great next generation leaders in this, and so where do you see each of your companies going, the market going, and what advice can you give for that?
Easy question. No. I think that, listen, I think as the business continues to evolve, so does everything else around us. I mean, I don't think there's any business today that's necessarily easy to be in because there's so many aspects of it that we can't control, whether that's interest rates or insurance costs or talent. And I think that, the best thing that we can do as we look to plan ahead is really collaborate. I know the four of us on this stage, I talk to all of you almost on a regular basis, just with regards to what's going on in our industry, what's happening with our suppliers, being open-minded to change, and I think finding others who are like-minded to kind of be on this journey with you. So, I think as you look ahead, you have to be very thoughtful in your direction, but you have to be ready to pivot and be prepared to change and not only change course, but change approach. And I think that is a challenge at times.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think when I think about the future, what I really hope and want is I really hope that we are still in business and that we are still relevant and successful. But I think my biggest hope is that the company is in a better place when it's my time to leave than when I started. And I want my kids and my grandkids to want to be a part of and be proud of our family business. And we have to continue to work at that. That is not just it's a privilege now to be in the industry, but we have to continue to work at it to earn that privilege to be in this business, in this industry for the long haul. So something my dad used to always say, and he would make it a farm reference, right? Leave the land better than when you found it. And I think that just really rings true. I want everyone to have more opportunities and a better place to grow and thrive. And hopefully we'll, keep fighting the good fight and with the partnership of WSWA, right, that just continues to help us and support us and all of us collaborating and working together. I think that will help us get there.
Love that.
So just think about it. Some of us up here have been in our family's business, and the family business has been around for over 100 years. We want to be able to take it to the next 100 years. I mean, that's a lot to say grace over. One of the things that we want to continue to strive to do as a company is we want to make it a lot easier for our suppliers to do business with us, our customers to do business with us, and make it easier for the consumer too. The days of our customers going online, which is amazing to me, on our e-commerce sites and reading about our products and actually ordering the products without even trying the products. I never thought I would see that day that they are. We're seeing tremendous amount of business uptick with them reading about the product, doing research on the product, and they'll send a note to their sales rep and say, hey, I'm interested in these products, or they'll even buy it at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So the whole piece of, I think we've made our business too complicated in years past, and we want to make it a lot easier going into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo everyone in terms of just kind of you want to build something better for the future. The other piece I'd say is I think we're entering just a new wave of what happens with technology and with data and kind of what's there. And I think sifting through what that is and figuring out kind of, be it route to market, be it the data you're giving your salespeople, all these pieces, you think of just what data is now and what it will be, and be it, I know AI is a buzzword and everything else, but figuring out kind of, I think it's just going to be completely different for the next generation, and making sure that as a culture, you're within the company, that we understand that and are evolving. We understand the customer's changing. We understand all those pieces, and just never being satisfied with kind of the norm and being satisfied with status quo. that's always changing, then you have to, if you're staying still, then you're losing, so.
Those are great. Well, we've got some time for some questions now, and if anybody has some, we do have a microphone that'll be run around, so if you do have a question, we've got a great panel of people that are eager to answer some questions, so.
Easy one.
Yes.
Yeah. Softballs.
Hi, I'm Brittany Hodges with Maker Wine. We're a small female startup working on canning some of the best wine out there. I come from R&DC actually, and I worked for Southern Glacier, so it's such a pleasure to sit here and listen to everything you guys have to say. As a small emerging brand, trying to get into that next step, we've really set ourselves up in California, for instance. We're trying to get into retailers, and they say, you need to be with a distributor. What do you say to that? Because we really kind of find ourselves as an emerging brand, and I talked to a lot of my friends here that are an emerging brand. We're stuck in that chicken and egg situation. Curious if you have any advice for that.
Who wants that?
Because the distributors also say you need to be with the national chain. So just curious if you have any advice.
So you're saying that the retailers are saying who is your distributor on your product when you're in front of
Correct.
seeing them. You know, one of the options is through an organization called LibDib that R&DC worked with to help get started. So it's you out in the marketplace selling your product, and they act as the delivery service.
Yeah, we've explored that, and I think the feedback we've gotten is that the retailers don't really prefer to do business necessarily with that, just on the level of service they're looking for. So if we are looking to, say, expand into an ancillary market that we're not our home market, and LibDib isn't servicing that, what would be the answer?
I think it'd be very state dependent as well. I think every state is going to operate a little differently. I mean, I know Tennessee is a lot different scenario and how that works there, but then also California, I think out of all states, is probably the biggest anomaly of how everything works in general, so especially on the wine side. So I would just put that asterisk out there. So it's hard to say here's the one answer to that. I think depending on which retailer, which chain it is, that sort of piece. I mean, a lot of those are kind of dictating who the wholesaler is to some degree. So I don't know if I can give you just a straight answer of this is the solution on it.
Yeah. And continue to have small success, and then you'll have larger success, and then a distributor will say, yes, come on.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions they want to ask while we have the microphone running around? Yeah.
Hi. We have a small family-owned business, wine media company, and we struggle with, we talk about family, we're 25 employees, how you reward the employees over a long period of time. When stock options may not be an option. We've done profit sharing. You guys are all dealing with this. I'm wondering how each of you is dealing with rewarding how your employees can share in your company's success.
So I can say, so recognition has been a big focus for us and has changed over time and what it means, right? So when everybody was coming into the office 5 days a week, one thing that was a great perk was we would say, for your birthday, you can have the day off, right? It's a little less relevant now because they may not necessarily be coming into the office every day. But we're constantly looking for creative ways to do that. And we've tried to do it in different ways where, it's not necessarily monetary, it's more subjective. So, where we'll host lunch and learns, and we'll bring in, because you don't realize, sometimes that at least our staff is looking for more information. So we'll host a lunch and learn, and we'll do them on a regular basis where we bring in lunch for everybody, so they like that. And then we'll have a speaker come in, and it could be one of our suppliers coming in talking about a new project, something that they're doing that's philanthropic. We'll do things internally together to support a philanthropic organization in the area, so everybody feels like they're part of something. I find food is always good, but I will say it brings people together, and then we'll also try to do things, and we try to do them during the day as well, because we find that after work, everybody has responsibilities, and it's hard to get them to stay around even for events. But I think the least expensive thing you can do is say thank you, And we forget to do that a lot in a meaningful way, and it means a lot, I find, when you recognize someone for their efforts and something they have done. So we've also started a program where we've used our vision statement, and so I call them visionaries, and every month we identify a visionary, and we have our senior management nominate someone, and then, it's nice to put an email out to the company to say, Mark's a visionary, and here, because of the things that he did, and I think that that goes a long way, almost more so than when you necessarily recognize somebody from a monetary standpoint. There's so many national days. There's like National Bagel Day, National Donut Day, there's like everything. And there's National Employee Day. There's National Sales Rep Day.
National
There's
Wine
National
Day.
Drivers Day. There is National Warehouse
Margarita Day.
And so we've tried to capitalize on those too by doing fun things and looking to almost leverage some of our partners' capabilities. So that we create fun events for our employees where they're learning or they're benefiting in some way, and they're also spending time together. So I'm sorry I gave you a long answer, but I love your question, and I didn't even plant you with it. But
I do too. I
love your question.
I want to talk to you about the recognition program, right? Because that's also been a big priority of ours as well. We have, to your point, we recognize our associates in many different ways. But in what ways do our associates really want to be recognized, right? What really matters to them? Is it a monetary recognition? Is it a shout out from their manager to the entire company with something they did really, really well? Is there someone living our values, our leadership principles, all of those things? And we're working to kind of put a lot of the pieces together to make sure that we are reaching everybody and not just, our sales teams naturally get recognized when they achieve their sales goals, but how are we recognizing operations? How are we recognizing finance and IT and all of that? And so it's just making sure that we're looking holistically at everybody, all the while kind of having, this culture building, culture of recognition that we're looking to further develop.
I agree on the culture piece. I think that's become, we've zoned in heavy on that as well. I think as much as salary and bonuses and those things are important, you need to do that. Salespeople naturally beat commissions and everything else. That's kind of how they're wired, and they're going to get that anyway. But if you're a manager, your executive team, and you go into the sales staff, and I say the gold star, but you have something of that nature where it's someone you're getting shout outs. That's equally, I'd say maybe more important. They'd rather take that over the salary. If you're doing a night on the town and you're giving them dinner at one of the restaurants you're doing, these sort of things. I think that stuff is as important, if not more important, to most of your staff, and then also recognizing there's different divisions within the company. So what's important to a salesperson is not necessarily what's important to a warehouse person, which might not be the same for your CFO. So I think aligning reward metrics towards whatever the category of the employee is, I think is important.
We want them to be proud to be working for our organizations, and something that we offer to our associates is a scholarship fund for their kids in college. We want to help educate their kids in college, and if they're able to keep a certain grade point average and above, they get scholarship.
That's great.
And to the
Have
culture,
to make them happy.
To the culture standpoint, we keep hearing the word associate, not employee, and I think that's something my grandfather taught me a long time ago, is everyone's family. It doesn't matter if you're the guy cleaning the floor at the end of the day, you're gonna say hi and thank you for everything, and building that culture, to their points, is, everyone's an associate, everyone's family. We're all family sitting up here. We all have one goal at the end of the day that we're trying to achieve, and how can we reward our associates at the end of the day? And it's building that strong family culture, making sure that we're not looking at them like an employee, that they are a part of our family. And, I think that's how we retain a lot longer of our people, and the reward is, staying and getting to that position that they want to ultimately get to, but also being a part of the family, giving that input that we also want to hear. But big, strong culture is great. Yeah, I've got a question back here.
Sure. If you have time.
Yeah.
Kind of related to the, employee compensation. I'm a supplier. I'm just kind of curious what your guys' opinions are currently and your forecast for the future when it comes to supplier paid sales incentives. Because it kind of feels like they are a lot less effective than they used to be. where they used to be temporary to support a program. Now it feels like the sales teams are asking for them on every case we sell, and it's basically it's taken away from what we could be using that money to drive customers in to pull drive pull through, and now we're feels like we're just supplementing all the wholesalers' employee salaries.
Incentives are not everything. Let's work together, continue to work together, and drive the business together through all types of market activities that you can do in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think that's another one of those, just always going back, just asking the why question. What is this? What are we trying to solve for or achieve? And what's the best way to get there? And maybe if it's a process or something that we have historically done, it might not be really resonating in the same way as it used to. So I think just an opportunity to, just like we always evaluate a lot of our business operations, just take a step back and evaluate. I can't speak specifically, it's not in my area, but I think more holistically, just like everything we do, just never do it because it's what we've always done or how we've always done it.
I think it's deeper dialogue with the wholesaler. I think that's the conversation of, okay, if I'm paying this, I can't do this. So if you're supplementing this and now you can't do a tasting program, what does that tasting program generate? Are you getting X volume out of each tasting you do? I mean, just having the metric conversation of me doing this, what does that change? Me not doing this, and finding that happy place of, okay, I want to spend my dollars towards these marketing things, understanding I think it's going to do this, the wholesaler thinks this, and that's that balancing act of finding that place of what you believe, what the wholesaler believes, and finding that balance of spending your dollars accordingly.
Yeah.
Besides besides cannabis, what is the biggest industry change that you have seen, each of you have seen, since you started in your career in the industry till now?
I mean, well, I too. I was talking about the other day. Well, when I started in the business, I started in the '90s, and it was the flavored vodka, specifically the confections, like the whipped and fluffed, and I was like, what is this? And I had no idea that anything about the industry or the business. So thank God we've kind of moved away from that. Personally speaking, but I personally have really seen an increase in diversity. And I know we have so far to go, so I'm not trying to pat myself or any of us on the back, but when I started in the business and went to a CLD event, I mean, I've known, like Dina, like when you even started, there was probably like one other female. I mean, there was literally 3 women in the room of like almost 100 men, and now, I mean, there is
Just look out here.
Yes, I mean, it
10
really
years ago,
is.
it was very
Again,
different.
It's not where, we're not at our end goal. I don't know that we ever will be. I think it's always going to be an evolution, but I'm really inspired by the progress that we have made, and I can see the change. I mean, I've been in the business 12 years. So in 12 years, going from being an only in most cases to not really being an only. There's usually always at least one other female in the room. So I have visibly seen that change.
One of the biggest changes. Oh,
no, go ahead.
One of the biggest changes that
Just
I've
don't
seen.
take mine.
No. Okay.
It's like,
I might.
I know.
Just you have to remember, you can't
I
forget
am
it
trying
now.
to remember it.
One of the biggest changes I've seen is, these buyers are a lot more sophisticated these days than they were in years past, and we need to continue to work hard for our associate to continue to train our associates to be right there and above. And I'm sure you see that every day.
Thank you. So I would say technology. I mean, I remember like faxing documents to people and green bar that my grandfather would bring home on the weekends and to review. And technology has changed the way we approach our business, but it also has infiltrated our lives to where there is no line, I find, between, business life and home life. And I think that Hillary and I have talked on some panels about work-life balance, and I joke there is no such thing. And I think technology has a lot to do with that. That said, technology has taken our industry so far from where we've come. When you look at data and how we use that now to analyze our business and our customers' needs and how we support them, how we've made ease of doing business with us as wholesalers so much more productive. And then also even just how our own associates are working with our company and being able to do their jobs in a way that is convenient and productive. So I think that's been the biggest change that I've seen, and I think it's good, but I also think the lines have blurred.
I would say, I mean, kind of build on the technology. I think technology to brands, to me, that's like the big piece is, be it on the data side of being able to see data and trends so early on, where I think now brands, it's such a faster route to market, be it just the access via internet or everything else, they can get bottles and get things and get new products created. I think the ability to have a trend, I mean, I think of like a Fireball and kind of how long that was going and how big it got before really anyone else entered cinnamon whiskey as a category. And then you think of kind of these younger ones, I think of a Screwball and when it did the peanut butter whiskey, and it's still a thing, but I think others entered that category so much quicker. I just think the ability to kind of see around the corner is so much easier for other people that I think it's hard to really get that footprint and the way it used to be. I think it's just, I think if something's catching on, then there's gonna be 50 different ones the next month, so.
Well, thank you for those questions, and thank you our audience for those questions. Thank you our panelists for being up here today. It was a very fun discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you all again. We look forward to seeing everybody out here, and thank you to WSWA for allowing us to be here and grow with everybody. So cheers. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.